Hollywood, and history.
Who is Soghomon Tehlirian?
Who's Soghomon Tehlirian? Maybe I should answer that question in a more indirect way, in a more general way. There are many moments in history where the actions of singular individuals have gone on to alter its course in profound and often unpredictable ways. And it's rather sobering to think, for example, how the two bullets fired from the gun of Gavrilo Princip unleashed not only a continent-wide war in 1914, but arguably helped shape world political and social events over the next 30 years. And I'm sure we can think of many other like individuals. And perhaps Soghomon Tehlirian's name would not be one of those that would immediately come to mind to those of us living here in the United States and Europe, but there are so many elements from this man's life that I think lend him a certain universal quality that others may relate to, while certainly not diminishing the reasons that led him to achieve fame or notoriety, depending on how you look at it. Tehlirian was born in a small village in the Ottoman Empire and was just a few years younger than Princip. He was only 18 years old when the First World War broke out, when he volunteered to serve in the Russian army. When the Russians and his unit advanced into Ottoman territory during the second year of the war, they came upon his home village, and in fact, many dozens of towns and villages that had been systematically emptied out of their local Armenian populations by the Ottoman government in what was a concerted, state-organized effort to exterminate the empire's Armenian community. And this young 19-year-old bore personal witness to the destruction of his people, his homeland, and ultimately members of his own family. Personal tragedy and thoughts of revenge consumed Tehlirian to the point that he vowed to hunt down and personally execute the individuals responsible for organizing the first modern genocide of the 20th century. And after roughly 5-6 long years in broad daylight, one spring day in Berlin in March 1921, Tehlirian tracked down and shot the former Ottoman Grand Vizier Talat Pasha, the chief architect of the genocide and who had been living in Germany for about 3 years under the protection of the German government. So when Tehlirian was put on trial for murder, he admitted that he had shot a man, but he said that he was not guilty. And to everyone's astonishment, he was acquitted. And in a way, Tehlirian's life story encapsulates the era he came of age, the great political and social upheaval brought about by a world war, the 1917 October Revolution in Russia, an increasingly connected world of transatlantic maritime travel and communication, civil strife in Weimar Germany, which would then lead to ultimately the rise of the Nazis in the 1930s, new understandings of trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder in the post-war period, and new notions on international justice and universal questions of right and wrong. And the very fact that the word genocide was coined 20 years later, based partly on what had happened to the Armenians and how Tehlirian's trial had unfolded, suggests to me that we should perhaps acquaint ourselves with his story just a little bit better. That's it in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you can help by clicking subscribe and sharing it. And if you want to support the channel with a financial donation, there's a GoFundMe link in the description below.